Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Ursina Bentele. I'm from Swiss Peace Foundation based in Bern, and I welcome you to this second spotlight session on trainings and on further education. We have planned something rather special for you today. I don't know, maybe some of you have attended the session in the morning, where they also looked at trainings in the development sector, and today, or this afternoon, we will look at trainings in peace building and the humanitarian aid. To give you a broader insight into why would you do training, why do you need training when you work in these fields, we invited an expert working on conflict issues in conflict area and in peace building, Rachel Gasser. She has a very vast experience on Myanmar, and she will give us a very quick, really in a nutshell, overview on what is happening and what has been happening in Myanmar. And this will give us a clue what a conflict involves, what kind of skills are needed when working in a conflict context and with peace building. Based on that, we will introduce the trainings that we offer today, and I am very honored to have such a experienced group of colleagues here by my side. It's Florina Derungs from the Interdisciplinary Center on Gender Studies. It's Alexandra Thierry from the GCSB, the Geneva Center for Security and Policy, Franziska Sigrist, my colleague from Swiss Peace, and Tanja Mirabile from the ICP, and Dagmar Reichert from the Artas Foundation. So they will all present what kind of trainings and courses and programs they offer in this field. And it's now my pleasure to invite Rachel on stage for an input on Myanmar.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As you can see, if you want to work and do trainings, you have to be a woman. So I was amazed at seeing a panel only with female colleagues. Usually you see the other way around and you're not surprised, and then you see all women panel and you're like, wow, that's possible. And in Myanmar, also you see lots of women working in peace building, local and international, national at all levels. And I think it's a great move. Not to say that men have to leave the room, for sure. So I'm allowed to speak for about 5-10 minutes. I'm going to be really short, and I'm happy to stay around afterwards if you have questions specifically to Myanmar. Been working for about 10 years on Myanmar, and the last 5 years with Swiss Peace, building up the Myanmar program at Swiss Peace here in Switzerland. So I'm going to give you a short introduction to Myanmar and the conflict that's ongoing, and that should give you a bit of a flavor of why training is useful in a context like this. Sorry. So a few pictures. I don't know how many of you have been to Myanmar, and maybe lots of you would like to go to Myanmar after the presentation. I wish so. Very mixed countries, 70% of the population under 30 years old, very young country. A long stretch, north to south. You have the kind of Switzerland landscapes in the north with mountains, and then down south is more kind of Thai beaches. Very diverse, with about 120 different languages. So I'm not talking even about dialect, but 120 different ethnic groups and languages. So very diverse country. And you can see on that map all the bordering part of the country are other ethnic minorities than the majority, which is Bamar. Different religion, different languages, different colors, and all the rest. So a very mixed country. There's different transitions that the country is going through. Lots of you have heard that now the country is open. Open, what does it really mean? Has always been there. Open to internationals for sure. 2011, new government came to power, quasi-civilian government. Many would say that it was the military just changing outfit. Anyway, 2011, transition to democracy. U Thein Sein became president and started a transition to democracy. I guess lots of you have seen that last year, exactly a year ago, November 2015, lots big change. The NLD, the democratic opposition, came into power with Aung San Suu Kyi being the quasi-government. She's not quasi-president. Sorry, she's not the president, but she estimates herself above the president, and I think she's really running the country. High expectation for that new government, and now having a proper democratic government in place, of course the population is expecting a lot from them. Second transition is peace, and that's what we focus at Swiss Peace. For many years, around 60 years, you had tensions, violence, war between the ethnic groups, ethnic armed organizations, and the majority, Bamar and the Tatmadaw, the Bamar army. 60 years of conflict, one of the longest civil war, not so many casualties, if I can say so. That's why we didn't, lots of people didn't realize that it was a war, a violent war that was happening for so long, but still 60 years of conflicts. And in 2011, the president made a call for peace to the ethnic armed organization, asking them to come to the table and to find solutions, a durable peace for the Myanmar as a whole. So lots of talks started, parallel talks, arriving to a ceasefire agreement last year, October 2015. Many groups signed a ceasefire agreement, and these groups are now moving to political dialogue, and other groups that still didn't sign a ceasefire and may do so in the future are in the talks on the violent parts, so the security questions. The last transition is the intercommunal violence. Maybe you've seen the Rohingya questions. So minority groups in the Rakhine state, one of the states close to Bangladesh, has a minority, Muslim minority, that has no citizenship. So they're not from Myanmar, for the Myanmar government, they're not from Bangladesh, from the Bangladesh government, so they don't have a citizenship. They are the minority of the minorities, so Rakhine state is already a pretty poor and neglected part of the country, and being Muslim and part of that Rohingya ethnic group is kind of having a double burden. There was a series of violent events happening in Rakhine State and then spreading in the rest of the country. So we've got lots and lots of tensions, and that's raising in Myanmar now between Muslim and Buddhists, but also between different interreligious tensions in general. But I would say the most important one is between Buddhist and Muslim, and that's still ongoing. So, what are the current challenges? And I put a few there, and I mean you can see some of them. Of course, the raising intercommunal violence is something many national and international observers are following, and it's still difficult to find good answers to that. I guess you saw that Kofi Annan is now heading a commission to kind of tackle that issue and come up with ideas and options. Then the role of neighbors. Myanmar is between two big neighbors, India, China, and Thailand. So what are the neighbors playing? What kind of role are they playing in this transition? So multiple transitions. But neighbors also investing, and maybe actors like China were not totally pleased to see all the Western, and particularly the Americans, coming big time in the country and investing tons of money. So for them, also a period of transitions with lots of questions coming up. As I was mentioning, there's parallel processes. Some of the ethnic armed organizations signed ceasefire agreement. They're now in more political talks. And for others, they're still talking about security questions and may or may not sign a ceasefire agreement in the future. So parallel processes that are complicating the situation. New actors on the government side, particularly Aung San Suu Kyi and the NLD in general. So what does it mean? New government also in the peace talks. What does it mean when you have a new actor in a process that is already very sensitive? Multiple transitions, so what are the impact and the link of those? Are actors working in silos, or are they interacting between those different transitions? Questions mark, and I think lots of challenges around that. And then high expectations from all sides, from the populations for sure, but also from the international world, and from the neighboring countries. So many internationals. I guess you've seen, lots of articles recently about Myanmar. Lots of your friends may go and visit. Lots of you may want to work on Myanmar. It's a sexy country, for lack of better words. And it's amazing and it's great, because then at least there's lots of interest, and money is also arriving in the country, and lots of potential. But at the same time, it raises lots of problems and questions in terms of coordination, cooperation, not all doing the same thing, not doing stuff, or instead of leaving nationals to do activities. So the the golden rush, in a way, international arriving in mass in the country has also raised lots of questions, and I think brings lots of challenges with. Lastly, local versus international, and I think it's a question in all countries where we are working. What can we add as international? Do we have to be there? What is our role? How can we complement national efforts? In Myanmar, the peace process is nationally led. Then how do you play a useful role as international? Myanmar is raising a lot of those questions, as other contexts may too. Opportunities, I think it's a unique moment in their history. Yes, after 60 years of conflict, after a military regime for so many decades, yes, indeed, it's a unique moment in their history, and I think Myanmar National feel that way, and they really want to take that momentum and move the country forward. What's the readiness from many ethnic armed organizations to move forward? Do they want to continue fighting, or is it a moment for them where they would like to find, durable settlement and durable peace? Can they trust the new government? Can they trust the military, the Tatmadaw? Lots of questions around that. The role of the army, is it changing? Is the Tatmadaw, the Myanmar army, moving forward? Is it going in new directions? You have new actors. Do we know them enough? Do we know how to work with them? Do we know how to support them? Lots of questions around the military power also. Some goodwill from international. So as I was mentioning, lots of money arriving in the country, goodwill, good intention from international, but is that really helpful right now in the country? Question mark too. So I think it's an opportunity, but also a risk. And then the population, where do they stand? What do they want for the country? What does it mean to be Myanmar today? Do you want a country that is religious, with multiple religion, multiple language, multiple ethnic, or do you want a country that is Buddhist, Myanmar, Burma? I think for them it's a lot of questions also in terms of what's the future of the country. So after 60 years of conflict, is it now time for peace? After decades of military junta in power, are we moving to a real democracy? What about the economic development? And I think it's a key factor, and the whole role of business in those transitions is fundamental. And what about the Chinese factor? Key factor in all these transitions, particularly in Southeast Asia. And then how to tackle intercommunal violence. What can we do as international? How can we support local actors in tackling that big issue? And as I was mentioning, what does it mean to be Myanmar or Burmese today? And what would that mean in the future? What's to be, reflected upon today for that? Now, how is that linked to the presentation you're going to get from colleagues? I don't know if you can see properly. I think you've got this theoretical, beautiful conflict line, and I mean you can see from the Myanmar example that the reality is much more messy than that. Still, I think there's early warning work that has to be done around intercommunal violence in Rakhine State, for example. There's definitely a peace process that's happening right now, so peace negotiations between ethnic armed organizations and the government and the army. So that's another phase. If you look at this conflict line, sorry, how can I see it? Yeah. And then you have peace building activities already happening. So you have in Myanmar activities happening and analysis happening all along these lines, and I think through the training you would see how useful the different parts and bits of the puzzle can be. So I thank you very much, and I hope you'll find interest in all the trainings options that you're going to get after my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel, for raising all these questions. I hope they don't leave you frustrated, but they inspire you to tackle maybe one or the other issue and one or the other aspect that Rachel has now given us lots to think about. We'll now move to the panel presentations of the trainings, and we'll always come back to this conflict curve that, as we know now, is in reality much more messy than this nice graph. And we'll start with a cross-cutting topic. So, what is that?
Yes, hello everybody. The cross-cutting topic here is gender. Thank you very much, Ursina and Rachel, for this introduction. In conflict and post-conflict, strong gender factors are in place. So conflict and fragility have a very strong gender dimension. Women and men have different roles, different experiences, vulnerabilities and security needs in conflicts. the division of labor, not only in conflict time, is highly gendered, and conflicts usually exacerbate existing inequalities. During conflict now, those things are being changed. Men away fighting, women take over the role as breadwinners and as important actors in national and local governance. And then in post-conflict reconstruction and peace building, again, this is renegotiated. So it's challenging and risky, those state building processes with all these renegotiation going on, but there's also a strong momentum to build a more gender just state and society. The training offer that I would like to show you today, I brought a couple of flyers, is not specifically on civilian peace building and humanitarian aid and the gender perspective in it. It's more general. It is called CAS, Gender Justice Globalization. So it's a certificate of advanced studies, a further education course. And we do that at the University of Bern in English within a year. And the participants are trained to look at an issue with a gender lens. So we look at development, human rights, migration, work, justice, etc., with a gender perspective. So it addresses people that work in different fields and have a gender focus in their work and who wish to improve their gender competencies. So it's people who work for the government, for NGOs in the field of education, peace building, work, etc. What you need to have for it is a university degree as a requirement and some professional experiences. Yes, that's it.
Well, thank you, Swiss Peace, and thank you, SINFO, for having us here today in this discussion. We are from the Geneva Center for Security Policy. The Geneva Center for Security Policy is an international foundation, and our mission is to advance peace through professional training. So we run every year around 50 or 60 executive courses in Geneva, in the Maison de la Paix, in the peace building, and all of our courses somehow fit into this conflict curve that has been described by Rachel in the beginning. But I would like to focus today on two specific areas that we believe are highly relevant for managing conflicting situations, which are leadership and peace building. So under leadership, we have several leadership programs running at the Geneva Center for Security Policy. And the one that I'd like to present here is our Enhancing Leadership for Women program. What is the rationale behind offering these leadership development programs? Who has been this morning at the session with Alexander Hook from the OSCE mission in Ukraine? Hands up. He's one of our alumni. So he's one of those persons who have to work on the ground in fragile contexts, in fragile environments, and have to make tough decisions. And what we try to do with our leadership development courses is to help them make better decisions and to be better decision makers. And how do we do this? So we offer them a diverse learning environment in Geneva, where they, especially also women working in these fields, can meet with peers, discuss challenges, exchange lessons that they have learned, and they all come from different backgrounds and have different histories, and this is how they actually learn. Second, we expose them to different ways of thinking about their own personal leadership styles. So what kind of personal leaders are they? We make them think about this, reflect about this. And finally, we give them tools, practical, concrete tools that they can use in their professional backgrounds when they are back in these complex situations that they can actually apply and use. So it is really about transforming mindsets, enhancing skills and practicing tools at the GCSP. And for this, we are a proud member of a network, a leadership network in Geneva. It's called the International Geneva Gender Champions Network. It is an initiative of the US mission in Geneva under the leadership of Ambassador Pamela Hamamoto. And we are very proud, actually, that we can offer this course as a contribution to this leadership network. So a part of the participants of this course come from this network, from the Geneva-based network, but it's also open to anyone who would like to apply. We have this course coming up next week, actually, and another one will be run in in October 2017, and it's a competitive progress. We process the selection for the participants, and it really is a very exciting program. And if you in 5 or 10 years are interested, then I would very much like to advise you to have a look on our website, and also put outside some flyers with more information on the program and on what we do. Okay.
Thank you very much. Also, Swiss Peace offers a number of courses and postgraduate programs that run all along the cycle, so you will hear me speak several times in the next, say, half an hour. I would like to start with a cross-cutting topic. It's the third of our presentation, so we've heard gender, we've heard leadership, and now it's about business actors. Businesses and peace, businesses and conflict, you may start thinking immediately that businesses can only do harm and that they exacerbate conflict. You may have them in mind in the extractive industry or with trade issues. The aim of this course is really to see businesses from a comprehensive perspective. Where can business actors be actors of peace? How can they support peace processes? How can they not harm or do harm through their activities in conflict? And how can they contribute then to the rebuilding of a society? So we try to look at the different phases of the conflict line that you've seen in the very beginning, the messy line, and see which role can business actors play throughout a conflict development. The course aims at people that work for businesses. It also aims at people that try to influence businesses. I'm thinking of people working for the media or people working in civil society doing advocacy. Of course, it also aims at researchers so that they bring in the academic knowledge that we have on the field, on the ground, and compare it, link it, and enrich it with the practice that we gained from work with businesses. The next course that is coming up is from the 10th to the 12th November, so pretty soon. But don't worry if you can't make it in that short notice. It's offered again next year. It's always offered just before the UN Forum on Business and Human Rights. And through this, we try to attract people from the global south that come and travel from far away to attend the forum, and they take the opportunity and take the course just prior to the forum. So business actors, something to explore. What is their role in peace and conflict? You can do that with our 3-day training next year. And with this, I will continue. Now we have passed through the conflict line very quickly with these 3 topics that are overall cross-cutting. Now we would like to focus on the first third, which is the period just prior to a conflict starting. We hope, as an international community and as individuals, that there is a momentum where we can stop the conflict from exacerbating and turning into a violent conflict. And one of these means that we can use is conflict prevention. You see, we also have a course on that topic. It's also a 3-day course. The aim of that course is really to look from an academic perspective, what can be done to prevent conflicts from exacerbating, from becoming violent, and from a practice-oriented perspective, what is being done at the moment. So one of the issues we're looking at are, for example, early warning systems. How can we make sure as an international community that we are aware of what's going on in the different countries early, at an early stage, and then act upon this knowledge so that conflicts do not escalate and turn violent. That's one of the aims of conflict prevention. The next course is taking place in May. So from the 3rd to the 5th, the course is taking place in Basel, as all our courses do. And registration always closes 2 months prior to the course starting, so early of the year. Then, if we failed with our conflict prevention efforts, and that's most of the time what you hear in the media, it's not very prominent when a conflict
was prevented from exacerbating and from turning violent. Most of the things we read in the news or see on television is once a conflict has turned violent, you see the conflict escalates into a climate. The tricky thing here is you never know when it's on the top. Looking at Syria, are we now at the very top? Is it going to get better? Or is it still getting worse? Is it exacerbating? The humanitarian crisis has been developing and coming worse ever and ever over the past 4 years. And of course, we all hope that it gets better, but we never know when we are on the climax of that curve. That's also an issue. When Rachel mentioned it's a messy curve, it can go up and come down again and then yet explode in terms of becoming more violent before it declines. One of the means we have at this stage of the conflict to deal with the conflict is mediation. There we have 2 offers, and I will give the floor to my colleague from the ICP first to present their course on mediation.
Thank you very much. I'm from the Institute for Conflict Transformation and Peacebuilding, ICP, and we offer a certificate of advanced study in mediation. We name it the Art of Conflict Transformation. And we are training skills in mediation, skills in communication and negotiation. First, we look at the basic skills in mediation, and then we go deeper into the topic and looking what means mediation in the intercultural field, and also mediation in the international development field. So we are really mixing theory with practice, and we make a lot of role plays and looking at case studies. We feed our trainings with the practice, so we are working in projects, in mediation processes, but also in dialogue processes, and then we bring back our knowledge into the courses. Our course in mediation is for all interested people working in conflict contexts. So all people who are interested can participate. The only thing that we are expecting is a university degree or relevant experience with people, so that you have experiences working with people in conflict contexts. The next course is starting in autumn 2017, so in 1 year, and it's lasting 18 months, 1.5 years, and it's taking place in Bern.
Thank you. So if you don't have a whole year's time, and if you like to focus on peace mediation particularly, then this course may be something for you. It's on national dialogue and peace mediation. National dialogue is an instrument to bring the different stakeholder groups of a society together to jointly decide where they want to go in the future. National dialogues have been used in Yemen prior to the conflict. Obviously, they failed so far. They've been used also in Lebanon, in different countries of the Middle East. They may be used in Syria in the future. This course is a cooperation that Swiss Peace offers with Berghof. Berghof Foundation is a foundation that has a lot of knowledge in facilitating national dialogues on the ground. So they really work on the ground with different groups how to set up national dialogues, and drew many lessons about what has worked, what has not worked, what are conditions for national dialogues to succeed. You will receive hands-on training in dialogue and mediation. You will reflect on these lessons that have been gained in the field from those national dialogues. And last but not least, you will establish a network with people that are working or that are interested in these topics, so that you can take the knowledge you gained in the course to your workspace and actually implement it. And with this, we have a strong alumni network. You have mentioned one of your alumni. I'm not going to mention alumni every time with the trainings, but of course, there is a whole network, and that's definitely something very crucial of trainings, to get to know other people that are interested in the same topics, and then once you are back at work, to keep these networks and make use of them. The target audience of this course are professionals that are interested in engaging in national dialogues and peace mediation. You are required to already have some practical experience. So it's really, you benefit the most when you're already working in a context or have been working in different contexts so far, and not when you come straight from university. So also here it's a course that we would like to see you again in about 3 to 4 years' time once you have finished your studies. The next course is taking place in February in Basel from the 13th to the 17th of February. So we move away from the climax, and we hope that the national dialogue efforts and the efforts of peace mediation have been successful, and we move towards the area where violence is declining, and it's all about a future of how to set up a new state, how to deal with the past, with the atrocities that have happened during the conflict, and well, how to look forward and how to look back in order to create the future of a country. So this area is the post-conflict phase, and it's the phase called peace building. We do have 2 courses that we'd like to present to you in this frame. One is about fragility, conflict, and state building. The state plays a crucial role in order to guarantee the rights of the people, to offer services to the people, and to offer harmonious living together between different groups. And when a state fails, that may be one of the reasons when a conflict escalates. So it is all about bringing the institutions back in, how to develop them further in order to have peaceful means to solve conflicts. Here we try to look at how can this happen, how can institutions be built, what is the international policy response to fragile states or failed states. We try to bring in methodologies that have been used by international actors in this area, and to look at what is a state and what is its role from both an academic perspective and a practice-oriented perspective. What are states actually doing once a conflict seems to come to its end and is rebuilding? What can be the role of the state and what can be the role of the international community to support that state? The next course is taking place in March from the 13th to the 17th. So building institutions and states is a matter of looking forward. But in order to live peacefully together in a society after a conflict, an important aspect is also to look back. And here is where the topic dealing with the past comes into play. So we offer a course to see how can victims and perpetrators after a conflict live together. What are different local approaches to dealing with the past? For example, truth commissions, memorials, also justice, bringing people to court. It's about understanding processes of memorialization, so how to honor what has happened in the past and not to forget, but still being able to look into the future and live together again with neighbors with whom you have been in conflict before. It's a course that's addressed to professionals that are engaged in dealing with the past processes and conflict transformation, and people that are interested in working in that field. The next course is taking place in September next year, so almost a year from now. And maybe here I would like to mention a person, a trainer that will come at the course. We have the president of the Tunisian Truth Commission that is teaching at that course. We always try to have practitioners and academics, and it's really fruitful to have the combination between the two. And Sihem Ben Sedrin certainly is a key asset of that course. So if you're interested in learning from her, join us in September next year. With this, we would like to conclude by again looking at a more holistic perspective. We do have programs that combine all the different phases, so from conflict prevention over crisis management to peace building. And we would like to start with peace building methodologies. So throughout the conflict as a peace builder, you have different tools that are useful for you to work effectively. One of them is how can human rights and conflict transformation be brought together. Then we have a different one on conflict analysis. So you see the flyer of human rights and conflict transformation, but there's actually different trainings, 3-day trainings that we offer under this header. At the very beginning, a key tool is conflict analysis. How to do a conflict analysis is the aim of that course. Who are the actors that are involved? What are the dynamics ongoing? What are the causes and how can they be addressed? Conflict analysis is usually done at the very first step before a conflict is happening, but then it's continuously updated. So if a conflict escalates, you renew your conflict analysis because the relationships may have changed. And also if a conflict then is not being that violent any longer, you try to renew the conflict analysis at that stage. So it's really a methodology running throughout the conflict cycle. The same holds true for conflict sensitivity. Conflict sensitivity is all about not doing harm when you're active in a conflict. We had the example of businesses at the very beginning, but it holds true for all the actors. It holds true for an NGO, for governmental actors, for the UN, what to do to not exacerbate the conflict by one's own actions. So we have a 3-day training on this. Both conflict analysis and conflict sensitivity will take place in 2018. So a year or 1.5 years from now. The upcoming 2 trainings are theories of change. That's the one taking place in February. And it's all about how can I plan in conflicts or in fragile areas when things are not that easy as planning a railway, for example. You know exactly, you go from A to B, those are the finances and the resources you have available, you plan it, and you know the Gotthard Tunnel will open in spring 2016, so we're even earlier. If you had to plan a tunnel in a conflict area, that would be much more complicated, and even more complicated is building up institutions in a conflict area, because things may change, things are very dynamic, they happen quickly. Theories of change is one of the means how to deal with conflict and how to still achieve your goals and aims in working towards peace. So we have a training on this in February, and last but not least, we have a training in June on how to bring together human rights and conflict transformation. Now you've heard all the different trainings we have. Most of them are 3 to 5 day trainings. If you start one of these trainings and you really feel that's something for you, you can combine them to a certificate of advanced studies, so get a university degree. It's 3 of these week-long trainings that you can combine. For example, national dialogue, peace mediation, dealing with the past and fragility, conflict and state building. If you take these 3, you can combine them to a certificate of advanced studies. We have different options of combining those courses. We also have a methodology course. If you combine the methodology trainings I just mentioned on the last slide, if you take all the 4, you can have a certificate of advanced studies in peace building methodologies. And we offer a new course that is a certificate of advanced studies in religion and conflict. So we have different CASs that we offer, and if you really like going even further, you can combine the CASs to a diploma of advanced studies or even a master of advanced studies at the University of Basel. So those courses are all addressed to people that already do have an initial university degree, either a bachelor or a master's degree, and have some practitioner experience. So most, like on average, people that do take our courses are in their late 30s, early 40s, and they come back again to university to reflect on what am I actually doing? Am I having an impact with what I do? And they reflect on this going back again to academia, linking it to the practice, and acquire one of our postgraduate degrees. With this, I would like to hand back to GCSP again, because also they have a course that runs all along the conflict line.
Thank you, Franziska. But before I say a few words about the course, I'd like to say that for me, really the key message of this panel is that professional development in our field matters. And all the courses that have presented so far, they are actually tools that will help you once you are on the ground, you work in the field, you work in a peace building mission, or you work in peace mediation, will help you to better make your jobs. And this is what we want to achieve as an organization, Swiss Peace, the Geneva Center for Security Policy, and also your organization. This is what we want to have as an impact, is we want to help you to be more effective at decision makers in your work. I said earlier on that we have those two highlights, so the leadership development and also the capacity building for peace building professionals. So we have a couple of courses on peace building. We have a course on results-based management for peace building. It's all about designing, about implementing, and about demonstrating the impact of effective peace building activities. We also have a course a leadership course for senior level peace building officers from the UN. And the one I'd like to present here is one that we co-host and co-organize together with Swiss Peace and also with the Human Security Division of the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs and with the Swiss Armed Forces International Command, Swiss INT. And this is a super exciting 2 weeks program that we run on a military caserne in Stan, so nearby Luzern. And it is really, during the 2 weeks, the participants, they really learn, or they have an opportunity to deepen their knowledge about peace building. So they learn about conflict analysis, they have a mediation training, and they also run through a simulation exercise of a fact-finding mission from the UN, where they have to tackle different challenges, and they are confronted with situations, and there's really a very exciting simulation going on throughout the course. The program is mandatory for all the members of the Swiss Expert Pool for Civilian Peace Building. So if you want to apply to be a member of this expert pool and you're accepted, you will go through this course. And we've run this course together for quite a long time already, so since 2001. And we are proud that it's actually certified by the European Commission's entry certificate. So it's a European certificate to make sure that there's consistency and that there is a common standard for those peacebuilding training courses. Our next edition is from the 27th of August to the 8th of September. And it really is a highly interactive and experiential learning experience. It's also open in addition to the Swiss participants, to a couple of international participants, and it is really an interesting, exciting course. Thanks.
Are you still alive? With so much information. I will just add just a little bit more. I come from a Swiss foundation, Artas Foundation. It is a Swiss foundation for art in regions of conflict. And I also teach at the Zurich University of the Arts. And I thought that I would like to start with 2 quotes. Maybe some of you know the first one. It is by this philosopher, Simone Weil. And she said that violence reduces human beings to objects. And I think maybe violence can be physical violence, or violence can also be in the form of poverty or discrimination. And for us at Artas Foundation, but I think also for the University of the Arts is a medium, an instrument, a possibility to see people as full human beings again. And we make the experience that this is very valuable and appreciated in regions of strong social transformation, heavy social transformation, or in regions where Artas Foundation works mostly in regions where conflict has taken place. There is a second quote. This is not by Simone Weil, but it is by me. And it is that I think that in situations of social injustice or in situations after conflicts, what is needed is that people start to see each other and to see the world, and particularly also to see themselves in a new way. And I think it's one of the strengths of arts, be it theater, be it film, be it music or dance, to invite us to see each other in a new way. And so for these reasons, we try to engage in art projects in such contexts. And Artas Foundation and the Zurich University of the Arts, we also want to, in a way, develop the professional expertise in this realm. It is not enough to do a drawing afternoon with traumatized children, but there is really fundamental knowledge in that field, and many people do things, and we want to bring these people together and learn from each other, learn what were their glorious failures and what were the successes. And so in this year, for the first time, the Art University in Zurich and Artas Foundation, we offer a further education course. It's an experiment, first time. And we have already several artists who have registered for it, but we do not have so many people who come from other fields, who come from peace building, who come from development cooperation, or you come from studying international relations and want to engage in that. So my invitation to you is, if you are interested in that, the course starts in February. Registration is sometime at the end of November. I have a brochure where you can read everything at home when your head is free again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dagmar Reichelt. Now we have a last input on a more country context aspect of training, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers.
We've started with Myanmar. The reason is that we had a summer school on Myanmar this summer, a 5-day summer school that is addressed mainly to students in their late master, and doing their late master studies or their PhDs, and practitioners. So it's really about combining junior professionals with people pursuing an academic career. Next year, we have the same on South Sudan. So if you're interested and if you're still studying, that's for you. If you've already a lot of experience and you are working on South Sudan, that's for you as well. We do combine these two groups, and it has proven very fruitful to learn from each other. It's all about understanding what's going on in South Sudan. South Sudan they have signed a peace agreement, but we see today that it has not lasted very long. What are the reasons for this? What are the current actors that are dominating the scene? What are the dynamics? What are possible scenarios? You will have the opportunity to delve into that conflict for 5 days and to really reflect, how can we go further? What can be possible solutions? It's very interesting, it's very intense. Rachel has been teaching on the last course on Myanmar, and we have our South Sudan specialists teaching next year. Deadline for applications is the 30th of April, and the course will take place in early July from the 3rd to the 7th. So we start with a conflict and case, and we end with a conflict case. And of course, throughout all the different trainings we have presented, these cases are important. It's what my colleague mentioned before. It's really about being active on the ground and trying to change the world for the better.
Thank you very much for this final course presentation. I would like now to open the floor and give the room for question. Do you have questions on one of the specific programs or on training opportunities in general, on possibilities? Or do you have lots of food for thought now? Of course, my colleagues will be still around if you would like to have a personal conversation or recommendations, if you have questions on your own training. And we also have flyers, yeah.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentation on Myanmar and also the variety of courses that are available. I'm just wondering, are any of these courses available online?
Do you have online trainings, e-trainings?
Online training is certainly particularly useful because many of the people that we try to convey knowledge to are not living within Switzerland or nearby. So it's something we are trying to develop. There is one online course that is available on conflict sensitivity, and we try to move further into that direction. At the moment, we do not have other offers, but continuously check back in on our website, and you may be lucky next year. We're working on something, it's not out yet, and we hope that we have it out next year, but I can't tell you by when exactly.
It's a very good question, because this is something that we are all concerned with in those days. So we will have next year actually 2 online courses, which we developed together with the US Institute for Peace. You might have heard of it. It's the big US institute that is dedicated to contributing to peace building. And we have one course on results-based management for peace online. And the second, it's the one that I've mentioned earlier, which is about designing impactful programs and demonstrating also the results of those peace building programs. And the second one, it's linked to what you are doing in Zurich. It's a course about media and arts, which will be online as well. And for this course, we work together with a partner. It's a former refugee, or it's a refugee Syrian woman who will lead this course, and both courses will be online next year. But we are also thinking about expanding our repertoire of online programs.
Thank you very much. There was a question over there.
Thank you very much for your presentations, and we heard there are a lot of possibilities for different trainings. I'm just wondering, is there also a field to work afterwards?
I can answer this question. I'm not the one that has the most specific course. If you're interested in the fields of work in peace building, etc., maybe you have to answer afterwards. I can just say what our alumni do after they have spent quite a bit of time in this course. So we're in our 3rd round now. We have people that after the course went to work for a UN agencies, for example, as gender-based violence specialist or as gender specialist at UNDP, somewhere in the field, sub-Saharan Africa. We have people that took over leadership positions in a Swiss women's organization, for example. We have people that work at the government, at STC, have a gender focus in their work that are in our course. People that work, for example, for Bread for All, Helvetas, etc. These are our people that are in the course, and usually they come from somewhere, either from the government, civil society. We also have some people from private sector, and after they have done this certificate of advanced studies, it takes a bit of time, and then after a while we get the news, I'm somewhere in the field, or I made a step in my career, etc., like it usually happens with the CAS. Maybe somebody else with a bit more a specific offer, you want to add something?
Dagmar?
If you work with art, you will not be rich. Only very few people. But I think there is a need for such work in our society, because many people here feel an emptiness and want to do something meaningful. So it is possible to find finances for projects. And on the other hand, unfortunately, there is a big need in conflict regions. So I think if you will not find ready-made jobs, but if you have initiative, you can create something in this field. And just a short note about the question of whether the programs are available on the internet or somewhere. We try not to go in this direction. We rather try to go in the direction of scholarships too. We got now 3 scholarships for our CAS for people in the south. So we think that the personal contact in our work is important.
I think the mere fact that we do have that Sanfo forum here shows And the number of institutions that are present shows that there is a lot of opportunities to then find work. It's really a question of what is the rucksack you already bring to the course, and then through the course you are enriching it, and where do you want to go afterwards? Is it you want to be based here within Switzerland or Europe and work on a going in and out basis, or would you like to be based in the field and work with a local NGO or with the UN based in the field somewhere? It's an opportunity for you to enrich your profile, to get to know new people through the classmates and the faculty you have, and broaden your network and intellectually be stimulated. So we have many people that come from their work and it's Friday, they're very tired after a whole week, and then on Saturday, if it's a 2-day course, Friday, Saturday, they go out refreshed because they think it's something different. I could really reflect on what I'm currently doing on an everyday basis, and I found new inputs, new inspiration, and I'm really dedicated, even more dedicated now after the training than I was before. So there are different reasons why to do a training. One may be to find a new job, another one may be to develop within the job one already has.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's a very fair question, and I think you're also all there to find jobs, internship, and whatever. And to my view, people who came to summer school, for example, it's also a great way of meeting people. And then if you receive 200 dossiers for an internship, for example, of course, if it's someone that I met at a training and you kind of build a relationship, then this, you know the person. So through those trainings, it's a lot about network and about, contact that you're building, and so I think it's yes, enriching your knowledge, but most importantly meeting people, participants and trainers, and then really exploring other options. And for sure in recruitment processes, if you know people, if you got experience, if you spend a week together in a classroom, for sure that's changing the game.
Thank you very much.
I can add on this. Maybe at the GCS people, we are a bit different because our average course participant comes into the classroom with 8+ years of professional experience, and they're actually working still in their fields. They just come for a week or for 3 days of a training to Geneva, or we come to them. We also have courses outside of Geneva, for example, in Jordan or in Senegal. And the course participants are very diverse. So we have a cohort of people coming from many different countries. So in one course, you can find 25 participants coming from 25 different countries. Actually, participants from Switzerland are the minority in our courses. It's really global. It's participants coming from Burundi, coming from the Central African Republic, from DRC. It's really professionals coming from around the world. And in this sense, I'd say it's a bit different from Swiss Peace. No, it's not. Also a diverse group of professionals. And then here the impact is quite obvious. It's empowering those people to make even better their jobs when they go back home to their countries and to their professional environments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There are more questions. Yes, we take one last question, and then we'll close the spotlight session.
I wanted to ask, why is the aspect of gender important for a conflict?
You have 3 hours. How much time do you have?
I was in the session this morning on the training offers in development cooperation and humanitarian aid, and I opened with the new 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development, where you also have a sitting area out here where you can talk about. For reaching this agenda, reaching gender equality is key. There are many areas, conflict is one of them, many areas where we have persisting gender inequalities, education, work, a lot of violence, poverty versus female face, many areas, and as I said before, conflicts usually exacerbate those existing inequalities, not just gender inequalities, also ethnic inequalities, etc. So if we want to make the world a better place, leave no one behind, what they promised with adopting this new agenda. Gender equality is a crucial issue, and if you're interested in this, I'm happy to talk more about it with you later bilaterally.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I really hope that you feel inspired and that you are curious now to maybe look into a new field and get some training. Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.